Last FM, I showcased some of the best tactics that were made. So today I'm going to test to see if they work in FM23. I've already seen quite a lot of you in the comments mention how you're using last year's tactics and they still work great, so I've picked my top 5 favorites. Including, yes, the attackerless tactic. So let's start off with the Shaolin 4-3-3 version 2 by Stephen HK. I absolutely loved this tactic last year and this year is no different. It basically performs very similarly in the match engine. The 3 strikers with 1 on support that drops off to link the play if need be, but look at these attacks. It seems like we just have more players than the opposition on the break. It can lead to very high scoring games, but that's entertaining and great if you're scoring more, right? So I firstly used this tactic with Rennes and I got a 3rd place finish, just 1 point behind 2nd. However, we were top of the league for nearly half the season until the World Cup break, annoyingly. But the most impressive thing about this tactic, they won the Europa League, beating United in the final 2-0. Statistically, the tactic created the most shots and only 3 goals less than PSG. I also tested this with Roma and finished comfortably in 2nd as well. So as always, there will be links down in the description, so be a lad and make sure you are subscribed and like the video. But we're going to go through this for people who can't download it. We've got move into channels here on both of the advanced forwards. The pressing forward on support doesn't have any extra selected. 2 centre midfielders on attack. A lot of instructions there for you to add on to your players there. The anchor on defend, that will act as a 3rd centre back. We got 2 fullbacks on attack. That's what's going to give you the width. And again, a lot of instructions on both these sides. Make sure they're quite a good player as well. Like, I think it goes without saying, you kind of need a really good fullback because they're going to give you the width. The dribble less, tackle harder on the ball play on defend, and there is a ball playing cover, which I don't see very often. Dribble less, tackle harder, sweeper keeper on attack. It is an attacking mentality. And in possession, we got shoot on sight, underlaps, and playing out defense, shorter directed, and a higher tempo, running out defense, and be more expressive. We've got gegenpress, distribute the ball quickly to the flanks, which will go to the fullbacks, I guess, or the centre midfielders. It's a mid block, very different, a higher, much more trigger press, and preventing the goal kick distribution. I ended FM22 with a diamond formation being my go-to tactic. And I had 2 variations and decided to try the Genoa one. So this is the tactic that I created myself. Similar to the last tactic, the narrow nature of the formation means you always have so many options inside that you seem to overwhelm the opposition. And your fullbacks are then even unnoticed when they surge forward and a spread of play is always on. It's also very solid and you don't tend to concede so many goals on the break because of the numbers on the inside. Now I tested this with Nice and had a fantastic time, finishing in 2nd place and runners up in both cups. But before you go berating me in the comments, this is just for fun, okay? This is just experimenting whether these tactics work. Don't be knobs in the comments. I'm looking at you, John. Because I also tried this with Leipzig, finishing in 6th place and I was sacked. So although it was hit and miss, let's take a look at it anyway. We've got an advanced forward on attack here alongside a poacher, both shoot less often and 1 tackle harder. We got a shadow striker, shoot less often, tackle harder again. Centre midfield on attack, so you kind of have like 4 people who will bomb forward and create a lot of overloads on the edge of the area, as well as a box-to-box midfielder who may also do that. The DM on support, dribble more, shoot less, tackle harder. Inverted wingbacks, and people always go, why are you using inverted wingbacks? Don't see them as, oh, they will only ever run inside. You clearly seen by the goals that we scored, they still go outside. The inverted wingbacks just mean that when you have the ball, they kind of sit narrow alongside your DM when you lose the ball. Whereas when you have the ball in good advantageous positions, that's when they go to the outside. It's quite clever, really. 2 ball playing defenders, both on defense, and a sweeper keeper on support. Positive mentality. It is very simple in the instructions. Not a lot selected here. In transition as well. Gegenpress, but rolling it out. Nothing else selected. And out of possession, it's even less. High press, standard defensive line, much more trigger press, prevent short goal kick distribution. Shall we take a look at Zaz Blue's strikerless formation? Hopefully you said yes, and I can show you how entertaining this tactic is in the match engine. It is relentless attacks when you get the ball, and I'll use that word again, overloads. Not to mention there are 3 shadow strikers who are so fluid that they cause so much trouble. One thing you will notice though is not a lot of possession. For example, the game you just watched was Lazio beating Udinese 3-0 with 15 shots and only 30% possession. it's all about efficiency. The games that you don't necessarily win, your team probably hasn't been efficient enough. Now, I used this tactic with Lazio and United, and they actually met in the semi-final of the Europa League, and United won 7-3 on aggregate. Lazio still finished third and runners-up in the Coppa Italia. Manchester United finished third in the Premier League, but only lost on penalties to Real Madrid in the Europa League final. Okay, let's take a look at it then. We got two wingers on support either side, and that is going to be crucial because they will go up and down and help this midfield out. So we'll take more risks, shoot less often, tackle harder. Exactly the same. The three shadow strikers in the middle all have the same instructions: shoot less often, tackle harder. Your Roman playmaker, of course. Both clubs had good players for this. SMS for Lazio and Casemiro for Manchester United. We got driven more, shoot less often, move into channels, and tackle harder. The inverted wingbacks will help out in that midfield. That's what their job will be, but they also will go further forward if they feel like they can. Shoot less often, tackle harder on both of them. And ball-playing defenders on defend with a lot of instructions as well. With a sweeper keeper, it's a positive mentality in possession. We have a higher tempo, slightly shorter passing, fairly wide. I trigger this, and if I was playing this game by game, I'd probably go to wide formations when I feel like I'm playing against a narrow team and I can exploit the flanks maybe a little bit more. Work the ball into the box with low crosses. Again, if you've got a really tall striker, maybe change that around. And playing out of defense. In transition, gegenpress, rolling it out, and out of possession, we got much more often prevent short goal kick. It's a high press, standard defensive line. What I will say about this, use your strikers in here. Trust me, yes, you'll think, oh, I've only got 3 centre attack midfielders and now I won't have this. Let me show you what I did for Lazio, and I also did it for Manchester United. I put Ciro Immobile, their best striker, as that centre attacking midfielder as a shallow striker. He learned it quite quickly. He scored 43 goals in just 38 league games, 19 in Europa League. That's 69 in 55 in total. Using your strikers in that role is the way to success. But before I show you the #1 tactic of FM22, as well as the attacker list, today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. The video sponsor today is your ball's best friend, it's Manscaped. Because New Year's is coming, and you know what that saying is: new year, new balls. And I can help you with that resolution when you head to manscaped.com by using my code OMEGA at checkout. This gets you 20% off and free shipping, so why not pick up the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. It's the perfect package for your package because it includes the Lawnmower 4.0. Don't let your pubes get in the way of making the year 2023 your best yet, because it is engineered to give you the most ultimate groin and body trimmer experience. And are you finding with each new year that you're getting hair in some places you might not have got them before? Well, that's where the Weed Whacker comes in, a nose and ear trimmer, as well as the Crop Preserver, the best anti-chafing ball deodorant, keeping the grapefruits fresh. And with the Crop Reviver, it's there to leave them smelling fantastic for any surprise visits. Lads, your partner will love you if you use Manscaped. And if you're single, well, the package also comes with the most comfiest boxers in the world, with that Manscaped tagline to give the ladies a flash, and the Manscaped t-shirt for a little less discreet approach. So let them know that 2023 is going to be your year, and do it by saving 20% off and getting that shipping knocked off when you use code OMEGA at manscaped.com. You're welcome. Hiding in the Shadows is next, which was ranked #1 on FM Base in FM22. A very interesting tactic that you'll see produce a lot of direct forward passing, as there always seems to be runners going beyond the defensive line. It's a high line nightmare, but with the right players can help break down a team that is also sitting deep. Two Roman playmakers works best if they can play those killer passes forward for those fast breaks on the counter-attack. So I tried this with Chelsea, finishing in 3rd and reaching 2 semi-finals. And with Real Sociedad, who claimed 7th place and semi-final of the Europa League. And what I will say is that a lot of different players will score a lot of goals. There's 5 there in double figures for Chelsea. And if we go to Real Sociedad, very similar things as well. There's actually 6 players there who have all had 10 goals or more and are all chipping in with some assists, with the exception of Alexander Sorloth. So let's take a look at the tactic itself then. It is a 4-2-3-1 narrow. We have two inverted wingbacks, which will help out the shoot less often, tackle harder. They will help out in this midfield, as we always mention. Sweeper keeper on support, two ball players on defend as well. Dribble more, shoot less often, stay wider, tackle harder. Two Roman playmakers. These are my two favourite roles in this. Got tackle harder, move into channel, shoot less often, and dribble more on both of them. The shadow strikers, shoot less often, tackle harder on all three. If you have more than one good striker, use them in this shadow striker role. Don't just use centre attack midfielders, because they will score goals and have opportunities. So you might as well have somebody who can actually finish. And of course, the advanced forward, take more risks, dribble more, shoot less often, tackle harder. I would actually consider, if I had like 3 strikers and 1 good centre attack midfielder, I'd flip it. I'd put the strikers here and a centre attack midfielder here, because this is going to be the guy who kind of holds the ball up for these 3 runners. So you might see them actually score more because this guy is providing. Positive mentality then. In possession, we've got play out defense, higher tempo, work the ball into the box, fairly wide, low crossing. In transition, rolling it out with a gegenpress, and out of possession, mid-block with a standard defensive line. Much more often trigger press and preventing the short goal kick distribution. Final tactic then, it is the attackerless. Now I know what you're thinking, this tactic has no right to work, but you're just going to have to accept that it does. I'm a man who loves the crazy tactics that work, but I think it's different. And this tactic is also so much fun to play with and tweak as well, because this is an older version to the eventual one I ended up using, and especially not the one that I used in PvP competitions. It's very different, but the goals are still some of the best team goals you're ever gonna see, hands down. With Arsenal, it was a 5th place finish, but a Europa League win against Atletico Madrid in the final. But with Inter Milan, it was a Scudetto victory, winning the Serie A and Lukaku scoring 43 goals. We did lose the Coppa Italia final to Napoli, who usually will actually win the league in simulation, so that is still good in my eyes. Okay, final tactic then. Now, just to give you an example of how Lukaku scored that many goals, I'm using strikers in the centre midfield spots. Yes, don't be so hard on making sure that you are using players in the correct positions, because these will act like strikers, especially Lukaku, obviously, who has got a hell of a lot of goals, and I think we've got Lautaro Martinez on 24 from that Mazzala role. So if we do just remove them, we can go through the positions here. So we've got the goalkeeper, sweeper keeper on support, 2 inverted wingbacks, which again will work like that, 2 ball playing defenders. We've got a Roman playmaker, and look at all the instructions there. Now, inverted wingers, again, a lot of instructions on both sides, exactly the same, but a little bit different, I guess. I'm not actually sure why that's a little bit different. 2 Mazzalas on attack, and these, again, have a lot of instructions because you kind of need them to. They're going to be crossing a lot because we've seen those cut-throughs where the defenders just don't know where the striker is, and they go to the far post because that's where the runners are. These guys tend to be all the Mazzalas who do stay out wide, and it's very direct. And the centre midfield on attack is very similar as well. Now, it is a very attacking mentality, which is weird, isn't it? Because we got no attackers itself. It's strange, but it works, trust me. Very wide, passing into space, that's what we wanted. Low crosses, working the ball into the box. None of the instructions will make sense, but just run with it. Slightly more direct with a much higher tempo. If you're finding that you're losing the ball too much, toggle this one and toggle this one. That's what I like to do. Play the ball out of defense because you don't want to just pump the ball long because there's nobody there. In transition, it is a gegenpress and you're rolling the ball out and out of possession. High press, high defensive line, much more trigger press and preventing the short goal kick distribution. Things that you might want to change. Toggle this on and off. You could also drop off a little bit more, which I find is quite good. But the position-wise, if you are not exactly the best team in the league, I would do this and I'd have 2 centre midfielders like that. That would be my go-to if I wasn't an elite team, but if I am an elite team, then I would stick to as it was previously. But that's how this formation, this attackerless tactic works. As I mentioned, all the links will be down below. Which one was your favourite? And of course, check out this video. We've just started Youth to Go. This is episode 1, and it's fantastic.